What's up, Rebels fans? Andi Gutierrez at Lucasfilm headquarters. This week, we were treated to not one, but two brand new episodes of Rebels. And because I love you and my job, I'm gonna take you behind the scenes of both episodes at once. Rebels Recon starts right now. After getting word about a new TIE Defender being tested on Lothal, Ezra volunteers to head to his homeworld despite its complete Imperial occupation.
They've burned it. They've burned it all away.
With help from an old friend, the Rebels plan an attack on the TIE Defender factory by stealing the ship's flight data recorder.
Okay, I found it. Just give me a few minutes to remove it from the panel.
However, when Thrawn shows up, Ezra and Sabine end up stealing the entire ship, only to have the Empire crash it, stranding them all by themselves. Or so they think.
I don't understand. Why did you help us?
This week, we saw our heroes finally return to Lothal. I sat down with cast and crew to talk about how the planet has changed since we last saw it, how dangerous and powerful the new TIE Defender is, and what it was like bringing the Lothwolves to life. Enjoy. In this episode, our heroes finally return to Lothal for good. What do you think this means to Ezra?
I think it means a lot to him because he's on home territory, and this is something that he's been talking about since the beginning, is helping the people of Lothal. This season gets so interesting with what Lothal, the planet, is actually capable of. How the Force kind of lives through Lothal, and the presence of it, it gets even bigger. And it's cool because we're constantly bouncing around, and now to be one place for an extended period of time is going to be pretty fun.
We're back on Lothal in the occupation, but the planet's very different from how we left it. How has the Imperial occupation changed since season 1?
Now Lothal is under martial law. Most importantly because it is really sort of a wartime factory. Every resource, every bit of personnel, all of the civilian population is being conscripted to work into Thrawn's factories to build a TIE Defender.
A lot of the population, I think, now thought, well, the Empire is giving us safety and security through militarized police force and building these weapons. Now they've seen the other side of that, which is that none of that has any interest in actually benefiting them or protecting them because they live a life of fear. And you're never free when you live a life in fear. For Ezra, it's difficult because this is his home, but it's also helping him to focus on what's most important, which are these people that live here and what can he do for them.
It was really fun watching the reactions to the trailer where people assumed that the planet that they were seeing wasn't Lothal because it looked so different. That is the matte painting that we've always used for Lothal. It's just been updated to have way more cloud cover and sort of fires and everything. It was meant to be completely just ravaged and devastated and burnt.
Our heroes finally return to Lothal for good. What does this mean to Hera?
To come back home and defend that land, I think, is important to Ezra, and it's grown to be important to Kanan as well. And I think Hera respects that. And it sort of feels like there's so much that's incomplete in this world for them that feels like a kind of completion. It's satisfying for her, and I think she really hopes she can save it.
Lothal represents some pretty important things for Zeb, I think. His time on Lothal and meeting Ezra and the crew gave him a sense of normalcy and sort of gave him a sense of family that he had abandoned. I don't think he ever thought he'd feel that again. And so I think he feels a connection to Lothal in a pretty profound way.
We see the upgraded and even more dangerous TIE Defender in Flight of the Defender.
Yes.
What makes the TIE Defender elite, the ultimate starfighter?
The speed at which it can move. You get to see the TIE Defender moving like super fast and everyone realizing like, oh my God, this thing could really turn the tide.
It's a combination of speed and shields. So you can't just hit it once and blow its wing off. It can take several hits. It's the even more advanced version, which would really wreak havoc for the Rebellion because they're banking on the fact that they have a fewer number of ships, but they last longer.
If the Empire had invested more in the Defender than they did in the Death Star program, do you think that the original trilogy would have gone differently?
I do. I think it really would have turned the course of everything because they would have had a ship that could actually go in hyperspace, still be as good a fighter as what it was, and I think they personally would have torn the Alliance apart.
It's a testament to Thrawn's intelligence. Thrawn is really about winning the war. He doesn't want to necessarily destroy his enemies if he can get them to surrender.
The Death Star is a tempting thing to destroy worlds. The fear that can inspire to the Emperor and Tarkin and Krennic is a much more persuasive argument than building what they see as fighters. It took quite a lucky shot to take down the Death Star in the beginning. No one really was counting on there being a Luke Skywalker. So you never know how Thrawn would have dealt with using the Death Star. It's hard to say. The fact of the matter is that a weapon in Thrawn's hand is dangerous. It almost doesn't matter what it is.
What went into creating the design of the Loth Wolves?
First of all, Dave loves wolves. We are all very well aware of how much love Dave has for wolves. So when we found out that wolves were going to be on the show, it was a huge deal everywhere because it was like, oh my God, we got to make this wolf and it's got to be great.
Wolves and animals are traditionally very challenging to do in animation correctly. So in production, all of us were very nervous when Filoni brought this up. We had to make sure that the wolves looked realistic, but still stylized in our Rebel style.
They're pretty specific. Even a Loth cat doesn't necessarily look exactly like a cat. Throughout the movies, a wampa isn't exactly a polar bear or a gorilla, but you can sort of see what the analogy might be. It's sort of always been that way with Star Wars creatures, so the wolves were a little bit more specific than you would typically see.
It's this thing that has been dropped right into our show that I think single-handedly added a new pivot point for the direction of the characters as well as the look and complexity of the show as well, because we had to figure out, well, how do you interact with the fur on the wolf? Hair is really complex because it depends on the animation, and because of our timeline, it's very difficult.
We had 416 different controls for the fur on the wolf to be able to move each individual little tuft and everything.
Wow.
That was sort of the beginning of it, and then we did walk cycles and run cycles. What we finally came up with, I think, really works well. I'm actually really happy with how we finally came up with something.
They're a long play as far as what they are. They were a very difficult thing to do because I think that things like these wolves can be challenging for some viewers. The wolves are definitely tied into something mystical. So there's a lot there, I hope, to unpack and discover. By some people, wolves are seen as a terrible thing and something to be feared, and by others, a positive thing and something that brings balance to the environment. They are almost a nature of the Force to me, of a good and an evil and a balance within them.
How's it going, buddy? Welcome! Come on, what happened? You? Not you again. Ow!
The Lucasfilm Story Group's Pablo Hidalgo loves a fine cup of coffee just about as much as he loves Star Wars. So what happens when I interrupt his favorite moment of the day to talk about his favorite thing in the world? Let's find out. Hey, Pablo. Hope I'm not interrupting craft time.
Yeah, I could take a break.
Okay, cool. We've got a lot of questions about Death Troopers this week.
Oh, okay.
So, first off, Amanda Backen says, hey, Star Wars, just wondering why the Death Troopers in the Name of the Rebellion speak basic.
Well, the main reason is because they have information that they need to convey that we wanted the audience to understand, and that's the easiest way to do that. But we tend to think that Death Troopers, though they may talk to each other in that garbled sound, when they need to talk to people who aren't Death Troopers, they could speak basic just like you and me.
Okay, cool. Next question comes from Adam Krasinski. He asks, why didn't the Death Troopers in the Name of the Rebellion have something in their visors to see through smoke?
Given that Sabine threw those grenades and her talent in creating weaponry, I think they're probably more than just simple smoke grenades. They probably had something in them that she's cooked up that helps fuddle their sensors.
All right. Thanks, Pablo.
Mm-hmm.
Have questions about the occupation or flight of the Defender? Tweet them to @StarWars using the hashtag Rebels Recon, and we'll answer what we can online. And now, because we love doubling up on episodes this season, here's your first look at next week's double feature, Kindred and Crawler Commanders. Enjoy.
As you must know, I'm Governor Price. I assume you are Thrawn's assassin, Rook?
I smell it.
You smell what?
I smell the sat. And he's not alone.
Thanks for watching Rebels Recon. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode. But if you need more Rebels info right now, check out the episode guides for the occupation and flight of the Defender on StarWars.com. Thanks again, and may the Force be with you.